Kia ora, good evening. The Reserve Bank has left the official cash rate unchanged at 3.5% today. Annual growth of 3.7% over 2014 is expected. Global financial conditions remain very accommodating, reflected in low interest rates, narrow risk spreads and low volatility across a range of asset markets. The country's economic growth continues to be supported by increasing construction activity and ongoing strength in consumption and business investment. House price inflation continues to ease despite strong net migration, and indication policy measures taken by the bank over the past year are having the desired effect. Southland dairy farmers grazing cows on sweet crops are being warned to watch herds after more than 100 cow deaths and over 100 more showing signs of illness reported across the province. Trying to collate exact numbers is proving difficult and raises the need for a regional register for non-notifiable conditions. Dairy NZ are still trying to pinpoint what the cause is, but anecdotal evidence suggests effects, which include photosensitivity, weight loss and metabolic issues, could be linked to toxicity in swede tops.
We've been on farms where we've seen between 30 and 50 cows that may have to be culled because of this, and cows that are euthanised because of the pain they're in with photosensitivity.
Is this the only region presenting symptoms and deaths at this stage?
Yes, it is. But having said that, we're probably the only region, South and South Otago, that grows swedes to the degree that we grow them. So we're sending a survey out to farmers to actually find out what varieties they're growing and what they've done with those crops. Because obviously there are animals on crops that have no issues. So we're trying to work through the science at the moment. We've had cows post-mortemed, and their livers have totally collapsed, for want of a better word, and so we're seeing a whole range. I mean, so some of those cows will never recover, and we're also trying to work through so what are the options with the other cows and around recovery time and what can be done for them.
Have farmers reported any cows being perhaps unwell or in a compromised condition before they're being grazed on HP swedes?
Well, we're not putting it down to the swede brand itself at the moment. As I say, we're looking across all cultivars, but no, we haven't. We're sort of if they've come onto swedes, it seems to be transition onto crops at home, but we've had them all through the winter with these issues.
So there's no indication that cows that have been grazing on kale are having the same problem?
No, none that we've been made aware of yet.
Is there any chance the condition of the cows prior to grazing the swede may contribute to liver and kidney health?
From what we've seen, I'd have to say no, and I'm just talking from what we've seen, that farmers are reporting, cows that were in great condition going on to crops have lost weight and been affected. So we don't think it's around the condition of the cows.
So once they are grazing on swede, how long is it taking for signs to become apparent?
So again, some very rapidly, and others say that ill thrift over maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
And as far as what farmers should be looking out for?
So photosensitivity, so they may see on the white parts of the cow that there might be peeling, sore teats when they're trying to milk them. These are cows that are calved, cows that are calving. We're seeing cows going down with metabolic issues and not being able to get them up again, and that's due to the liver damage. Also, just general thrift, and it's not just cows; it's young stock as well. People need to be very aware if they've got young stock out at grazing.
Any idea potentially of the cost to farmers here, Richard, if this continues along the vein?
It's very hard to calculate the cost. There'll be there's obviously the direct cost of losing cows, and there's production, and then there's effects on production of the herd, maybe at a subclinical level, and issues around reproductive performance. So we haven't got round the numbers at this point, but for some farmers it's going to be considerable.
It was Green Day in the city as all 3 Southern Green Party candidates converged on the Invercargill electorate headquarters in the Crescent to cast their votes.
Dora Lansbury, Green Party candidate Te Tai Tonga, Clutha Southland candidate Rachel Goldsmith and Invercargill candidate Dave Kennedy joined over 100,000 Kiwis who have so far cast an early ballot. The Greens are hoping to have a say in who forms the next government and currently polling between 12 and 15%. That ambition may well become reality come the 20th of September. Consistent polling around the 15% mark may also see Invercargill get an extra MP in Parliament, with Dave Kennedy sitting 18th on the party list.
We've got Dora Lansbury, who's our Te Tai Tonga candidate, and Rachel Goldsmith, who's Clutha Southland, and myself have all managed to be here at the same time, so we've all voted together. It's great.
And you're very much promoting that people should get out and vote, whether it's today or on election day.
Definitely. 25% of people didn't vote last time, so we think this is a great opportunity. People have no excuse. The polling booths have been open for 3 weeks. Get out and vote. And
a quick word on your place on the list, because those polls are sort of indicating that you may well be in Parliament. Are you giving that much thought?
Well, that's right. I'm 18th on the list. We've had a number of polls that have put us well over the 15%, which would get me in, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Is there anything, not to preempt anything of course, but are you thinking or preparing for that?
Well, definitely. It's been, it's sort of been a goal of mine to get into Parliament. So, it's looking that it's possibly likely. So, definitely, it's uppermost in my thinking.
Not looking on the internet for a flat in Wellington yet, though.
Not yet. No. Touching wood.
Coming up next in the bulletin, used car sales are on the rise and Blokes and Sheds. Welcome back. National today released its primary industries policy, setting the goal of doubling the value of primary sector exports by 2025. This would see primary sector earnings grow from the current $32 billion to $64 billion annually. National's primary industry spokesperson Nathan Guy says that already this year primary industry exports have reached record levels of almost $38 billion in the year to June. If returned to office, National will continue to support the Primary Growth Partnership, which is co-investing over $700 million into 18 innovation projects with industry. Mr Guy says this covers a range of industries and this alone has the potential to deliver returns of up to $11 billion by 2025. And as mentioned earlier in the bulletin, Green Party candidate for Te Tai Tonga, Dora Roimata Lansbury, was in the city today. Hunter Andrews asked her whether the sheer size of the electorate, which includes the whole South Island, the Chatham Islands and the bottom of the North Island, was just too vast.
The feedback I get from, especially even parliamentary support people, is that they believe Te Tai Tonga to be an extremely large electorate to try and do effectively, and that one of the reasons since MMP that MPs often only last about 2 terms is because not necessarily always through their own fault, but also just because it's very, very difficult to fulfil your parliamentary obligations of sitting in the House, as well as finding time to get effectively round your rohi. Whereas for most electorate MPs, they just have one office in one town and they can be there every other week. But for the Te Tai Tonga MP, they have to maintain about 5 or 6 offices, and really you're only going to get to that once every 2 months.
Let's talk about green issues in the South Island. Are Māori voters different? Are issues different down here than perhaps up north?
I think environmental issues definitely down here matter. Te Tai Tonga has always been leading the green Māori vote, even when Materia was standing in the seat.
What do you put that down to?
I put that down to the fact that, again, partly as you talked about before, the geography, and I talk to a lot of our voters and they say that because the South Island is the most pristine part of New Zealand, I think everybody in the South Island really is keen to keep it that way. And also, there is concern over Mahinga Kai, especially for Ngaitahu. We're very much a Mahinga Kai people, and so we want to whitebait, we want to do our tuna fishing, we want to do our crow fishing, and a lot of those things have been seriously affected, by our rivers becoming a lot less clean than they are, and we want to be able to go back and do some of those traditional practices. We want to be able to show our children that way of living. And the only way we can do that is to try and support the green kaupapa and try and get our rivers cleaner.
Used car imports to New Zealand increased by nearly 1/3 in August. The used passenger market is up 31% compared to the same months last year and are up 31% year to date on last year. New Zealand is in its 5th year-on-year growth for for used imports, with box vans dominating as top sellers, led by Toyota Hiace and the Nissan Caravan respectively. The new commercial market continues to run hot also, with new vehicles purchases up by 19% last month compared to last year and 21% year to date. The Motor Trade Association says if imports continue at the current rate for the rest of the year, around 214,000 new and used imported cars will be sold during 2014. That's the largest number since 2005. It's time again for the Blokes and Sheds tour. This Sunday, 3 buses will leave Southland Boys High on a magical mystery tour of 5 blokes and their sheds. Hunter Andrews had a word or two with organiser Ken Bowie.
It's the 14th year since we started every year, and we've still got 5 sheds every year. If you told me in 2001 I'd still be doing it 14 years later, I'd have said, where are the sheds? But no, they keep popping up. It's always been a fundraiser for Southland Boys High, PTA, and we generally get 3 bus loads. The tickets are on sale at the school until tomorrow, or the City Council booking office, so get in there and get those tickets. There will be limited ones available on the day at the school, 1 o'clock on Sunday. But we normally have 3 bus loads, and we do have blokettes. The odd lady comes along, so we don't.
And they're not excluded.
They're not excluded. No.
Although there could be some happy that the tour's actually on and he's away.
Yes, they may just want a quiet afternoon. Some cases we visited sheds. The bloke's wife has actually had her own collection of maybe salt and pepper shakers or soft
sub-shed.
A sub-shed, yes. Obviously a partnership. We try to have a bit of variety. Sometimes it's the bloke, sometimes it's the shed, sometimes it's what's in the shed, but generally a mixture of both. Every bloke we visit, it's either a hobby or a restoration type business. You can see that this would be a challenge to a lot of guys, but for some it's no, that's something positive, something to tackle.
And we're actually at one of these locations now, aren't we? And it's quite amazing, isn't it? There's a lot to see here, and we haven't even been in the shed, just what's lying around.
That's right, this is just a taster, yes.
So there's still a chance for people to get involved, and it's a good day out.
Yes, it is indeed. And on the way, the PTA, the mothers put on a barbecue, so the blokes will get a bit of refreshments on the way. And we find an appropriate shed with a bit of cover in case the weather's inclement, but no, it shouldn't be a problem. If it's all right like today, we'll be fine.
Next up on Sport, the second part of an interview with former All Black legend Andy Hayden. That's after the weather next. From the news team, good night.